Okay, here's part 2, top of page 115. They didn't seem to know what else to say until Mandy raced up and asked if they tried the ring tossed yet. The three of them hurried off to the booth. Those old gold friends, Heidi and Gail, were back together at last. Meanwhile, Marty seemed puzzled by the whole incident. He stood motionless, watching the other partygoers pairing off and having fun together. I guess Aldo was watching because he marched over to him and said, "If you need something to do, I could use some help giving out prizes." Marty didn't answer. "Or would you rather be with your friends? You do have friends, don't you, Marty?" Marty stood like a statue, staring at Aldo. "You know, Marty, if you stop pushing everybody around, people might start liking you. So why don't you come over and do something nice, like handing out prizes?" Aldo didn't wait for an answer. He put his hand on Marty's shoulder and marched him to the prize booth. Meanwhile, Richie and Seth cheered on Tabitha as she got 3 baskets in a row. Smiley the bear was nowhere in sight. After Miranda and Sae had each earned a handful of pink tickets, they headed for the prize booth. But when they saw Marty there, they stopped in their tracks. "I'm not going over there if he's there," said Miranda. "He'd probably steal my tickets." AJ and Art were already at the prize booth, trying to choose from the assortment of little prizes. Paddles with balls attached and funny cardboard glasses with eyeballs painted on them. Aldo and Marty stood behind the prize table. "Hurry up and take something," Marty said in a gruff voice. He tried to stuff the glasses in AJ's hand. "Move it along." Aldo nudged Marty. "Give them a chance to decide what they want, Marty," he suggested. "How about a train whistle?" he asked, holding up a big wooden whistle in the shape of a train. "Maybe," said AJ. "Paddleball is always good," said Art. "I'll take that." "Good choice," Marty mumbled. "I'll take the whistle," AJ decided. "Thanks." "You're welcome." It sounded strange to hear mean Martin Bean say those words. Kirk rushed to the prize booth with a handful of tickets. "Well, if it isn't Kirk the Marty stopped himself before he finished. "Kirk the basketball king," said Aldo. "Pick a prize." Kirk had enough tickets to get a flower with a bulb attached that would squirt water. "Good choice," said Marty. His voice sounded different. I guess he wasn't used to saying nice things. At last, Sae and Miranda, who had been watching Marty, finally came forward, clutching their prize tickets. "Ladies, come get your prizes," said Aldo. "Marty, will you help? Marty will help you. He likes to help, right, Marty?" "Here are some keychains," Marty told the girls as they nervously stepped forward. "Or maybe you'd like this tic-tac-toe game." Miranda and Sae were obviously surprised that Marty was acting like a human being is supposed to act, but they handed over their tickets. "Thanks, Marty," said Miranda, taking the keychain. Aldo grinned. So did Marty. Everybody was having such a good time, I was tempted to open the lock that doesn't lock and join the fun. While I was thinking it over, Aldo blew a whistle and asked everyone to come to the center ring for the big show. As I watched my classmates rush for their chairs, I realized that I had an excellent hamster-eyes view of the center of the ring. There was no need to plan an escape, after all. Once everyone settled down, Marty took center stage and waved his top hat dramatically. "Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to be dazzled by the one, the only, the amazing Magic Mitch." Amazing Magic Mitch turned out to be a tall, skinny man, also wearing a top hat. His long blonde hair touched his shoulders. He had an oversized black jacket with a red and white striped t-shirt and wore huge red-rimmed glasses. Aldo applauded and the rest of the audience joined in. Magic Mitch carried a table in one hand and a suitcase in the other. He put the suitcase on the table and pulled out a large black wand. Now I understood. Amazing Magic Mitch was a magician. I'd heard about magic shows, but I've never been to one before. My whiskers started to quiver as the act began. He talked the whole time he performed his act. Talk, talk, talk. First, he started out with a card trick. He brought AJ out of the audience and asked him to pick a card, memorize it, and return it to the deck. The magician mixed up the cards and asked AJ to pick another card. The card AJ selected this time happened to be the exact card he had picked the first time. Think it's a trick deck? Asked the magician. Yes, AJ answered. So Magic Mitch called Tabitha out of the audience. He asked her and AJ to check the deck of cards to see that everything was normal. It was! Then Tabitha had to pick a card and memorize it. Mitch shuffled the cards all around again. When Tabitha picked another card from the deck, you won't believe it, it was the exact same card she had picked before. Everybody applauded except me. This guy seemed a little too crafty for me. I decided to keep a close eye on him. Magic Mitch asked if he could borrow a coin from somebody. Marty volunteered with a quarter he had in his pocket. Imagine a grown-up taking a coin from a kid. Mitch rolled the coin up into a handkerchief, and it disappeared completely right before our eyes. He shook out the handkerchief, but the quarter was gone. Marty gasped. Everybody should have warned Magic Mitch not to make Mean Bean mad. The magician leaned over and said, "What's that in your ear?" He reached out to touch Marty's ear and produced a quarter, the same one Marty had given him. Now, I ask you, how can a coin disappear into thin air and then turn up in somebody's ear? This guy was cheating, cheating, cheating. Next, Magic Mitch had the nerve to ask if the birthday boy had gotten any paper money for his birthday. Richie came up and gave the magician a brand new dollar bill. You won't believe what Magic Match did with that dollar bill. He folded it all up, took out a pair of scissors and cut it into small pieces. That's the rudest thing I've ever seen. Even Og wouldn't do something like that. Richie's eyes were practically popping out of his head as Magic Mitch took the pieces of the dollar, put them in his fist, and waved a magic wand. Nothing happened. I forgot to say the magic words, he exclaimed. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, you will see the money grow. This time when he opened his hand, the dollar bill was back, all in one piece again. Thank goodness, or I think Richie would have been pretty angry. Magic Mitch asked Sae and Mandy to help them with a trick where he cut up a rope, did some hocus pocus, and returned it in one piece. And Art helped him make a glass of water disappear under a handkerchief. I mean, a whole glass of water. I would not invite this man to my house for dinner, I can tell you that. Everybody seemed to like the show, though. They gasped and clapped at everything he did. Finally, he announced the big moment. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in the show, I usually make a rabbit disappear out of my hat, but today my rabbit is on strike, so I'm going to borrow your class hamster for this amazing trick. It took me a few seconds to realize that the class hamster was me. Richie came over to my cage and gently picked me up, cupping me in his hands. Don't be scared, Humphrey. It's only a trick, he whispered. I knew that, but I didn't want to be cut up into pieces or disappear into thin air. No wonder the rabbit went on strike. Since Humphrey's already here, I can't pull him out of my hat. So instead, I will make him disappear into my hat. Magic Mitch first held his hat upside down and let everybody who wanted to come up and inspect it. Everybody agreed it appeared to be an ordinary hat. Mitch took me from Richie and put me in the hat. It was dark, dark, dark inside, and I have to admit, I don't like dark places. As he dropped me down, he pulled something with his finger, and I dropped into a secret compartment at the top of the hat. A false bottom came down over my head. I was trapped into a dark, scary place. I could hear Magic Mitch's muffled voice. saying, "Abracadabra, Humphrey dear, I will make you disappear." Whoa! The magician turned the hat all the way around. Now I was laying on my back, feeling a little seasick. "Humphrey, where are you?" Magic Mitch called out. He shook the hat to show that it was empty, except it wasn't. "Oh," I squeaked weakly as I bounced up and down, trapped in this stuffy cave. I guess nobody heard me, not even Magic Mitch. I could hear the sounds of kids gasping and shuffling around in their seats. "Where's Humphrey?" I heard AJ ask. "Beats me," said Magic Mitch. He turned the hat around and put it on his head. "Want to see another trick?" "Bring back Humphrey," Richie said in a voice as loud as AJ's. "Humphrey who?" asked the magician. He started to do another trick. I couldn't see what he was doing since I was completely in the dark. Well, if Magic Mitch wasn't going to do anything about getting me out of this hat, I was going to do something for myself. When I squinted my eyes, I could see a pinpoint of light above me. If I could see the light, there must be an opening there. I crouched in the little space and reached up with my paws. I pushed and I scratched and I pushed some more. I may be small, but I'm strong for a hamster. I could hear Magic Mitch repeating, "Now you see it, now you don't. Which shell has the P under it?" "Bring back Humphrey," more voices shouted, but Mitch ignored them. Now I could see a lot more light. The top of the hat was opening from all my pushing. There was a small space barely big enough for me to squeeze through. I pushed myself up with all my might and popped right out of the top of the hat. I could see my friends from room 26, Richie's relatives, and also Marty Bean, all staring up at me. Magic Mitch kept going even though nobody paid attention to him. There was giggling, pointing, nudging, nodding. The giggling turned to chuckling, chortling, laughing, and howling. "Now you see it, now you don't," Mitch sounded confused. "Folks, are you paying attention?" I could hear my name being whispered all around. I stood up very tall as everyone stared at me. "Greetings, one and all," I squeaked as loudly as I could. This produced a shriek of laughter. I took a bow. The audience members began to shout my name. They stamped their feet and clapped their hands as they chanted, "Humphrey, Humphrey, Humphrey." "Okay," the magician sounded quite annoyed. "I'll bring him back." He took off his hat, and there I was, eyeball to eyeball with Magic Mitch. He looked very pale. "Well, what are you doing? You ruined my whole show." "It's my show now," I squeaked to him. "Next time I'm bringing the rabbit," he said gloomily. Nobody else heard him because all my friends continued to clap, stomp, and cheer. Aldo quickly entered the ring and said, "Let's have a big round of applause for amazing Magic Mitch." Mitch waved his magic hat, which now had a hole in the top, and hurried away from Richie's basement as fast as he could. The crowd kept applauding and cheering. I knew they were cheering for me. And the quote on this chapter is, "A friend is a present you give yourself." All right, that's the end of the chapter. See you guys tomorrow.